You need to avoid these mistakes when you are jumping into creating content on YouTube in 2023. That was actually the first example. Oh wait, did you miss it? When it comes to creating your YouTube videos, we do not want long and pointless introductions. We don't want to hear about what you're doing or how you are. We don't want things that take away from what our audience is going to be learning or experiencing inside of our videos. Because you have exactly 2 seconds to get people's attention, and they're going to decide in those first 1, 2, or 3 seconds just how long they're going to stay on your video, if it's going to be of value to them. So if you have some kind of intro at the beginning, if you are babbling about other things, you are going to lose the vast majority of your audience. So the very first thing you need to do when it comes to your YouTube videos is to immediately tell people what they're going to be learning or experiencing inside of your videos to keep them on your videos longer. Relatedly, we are no longer doing long theme songs. Anything that can take away from them being able to take action on your video or learn the thing that they're there to learn is going to drive traffic away from the videos you're creating. So while you may want to have a theme song or an overlay or something to kind of show who you are and what you do, it should not be longer than 3 to 5 seconds. Anything more than that will lose your traffic. They're going to skip ahead, you're going to lose watch time, or they're just simply going to leave, which is probably the more likely scenario. So while we do want to show off fun things, keep it very minimized. A short little theme song, a short flash of what you do on screen, or use it and implement it into part of the conversation. So if you have a longer theme song, go ahead and put that little clip at the beginning and then trail it into the conversation you're having in that specific video. Or you can do something where you're actually minimizing the graphics and you're putting them in a corner or somewhere on the screen so that people can still see it and understand who you are, but not have it taking away from the content that you're producing to help them. Remember, everything you're doing on YouTube is about your viewer, and if you're making it about you, you're going to lose those viewers. You also want to be sure to avoid the very common mistake of making your videos not visually interesting. If your videos are visually boring or unappealing, people will not stick around. Gone are the days when you can just set up a camera and talk directly to camera for 20 minutes. People are not going to stick around for that. They do want to see transitions and cuts, different backgrounds. They want to see logos and text. They want to see overlays and graphics, things that are going to keep them entertained. Remember, we live in the era of Instagram and TikTok. With these video-based things, we're looking at fast-paced content, transitions, different backgrounds, a lot of movement. So you should do well to actually take a note from TikTok and learn how to do some simple transitions. It doesn't have to be jumping and changing clothes and all of those things, but just looking from one place to another, you have the opportunity to be visually appealing. If you watch my videos, really pay attention to what I'm doing. I actually film in segments with different backgrounds. Then I'll do text overlays, I'll have overlays for graphics. I've got all sorts of things to keep you visually invested in what we're doing. So pay attention to the visual appeal of your content. If it's boring, if you're watching it and you look away or you check your phone or you get a little bit bored, do something to change it. Even if it's just zooming in on the picture, even if it's adding a text overlay, even if it's adding some kind of sound. You need to do something to keep their attention so that it's not a boring segment for them. In fact, if there's ever an opportunity in your video for somebody to get distracted or to scroll away, chances are they probably will. So if you're not to the point while you're having your conversations, you're very likely to lose people. If you go off on side tangents or you tell side stories, unless they actually parlay back into what you're talking about, you're likely to lose your audience. So we are being direct and to the point. Again, we live in the era of TikTok. We want to consume content and consume it quickly. We want actionable steps, we want knowledge in short capacities, and we want to make sure that we are moving forward with what we're doing and being allowed to take action in our lives and in our businesses. So as you're creating your content, know exactly what you're going to say and say it without taking the long way around, because if you are dawdling or if it takes you a minute to get there, you're much more likely to lose your audience. Now, we talked a little bit about your intros at the beginning of today's episode, and when it comes to your intros, you need to keep them incredibly short and to the point and get into the meat of your content. The same goes for your outros. As you're wrapping up, people start to know when you're ending a video and they're much more likely to click away. We do not want to lose our watch retention at the very end of our video. So being able to cut it off quickly is going to work to your benefit. Do not let people know you're about to end your video. If you get to the end of your video and now you've got a 1-minute spiel you have to give them about going to sign up for your newsletter and watching your other YouTube videos and all of those things, that is unnecessary information to the content you're providing. So you want to make sure that you've got that very, very pared down if you have to say anything at all. And I highly recommend, if you do want calls to action, do them in the course of your video. If you remind them in the middle of the video to sign up for the newsletter, they're not scrolling away because they're only in the middle of that video. So at the end of your videos, you want to have a very short, specific outro and let people know what that next step is to take. Keep it as short as possible so that you keep their attention. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making on YouTube is not leveraging your cards or your end screens. At the end of your video, you have the option of putting up to 20 seconds of end screens on your video. If at all possible, I highly recommend doing this. Now, some people will put up just a blank screen and it will have those videos and it will have a still shot behind it. I don't recommend doing that, but you can. Remember, that actually counts as watch time. So when they get to that end screen, if it's just a static image and there's got some videos on it, people will see it real fast and they'll leave and you'll lose that bit of watch time for those last 20 seconds or shorter if you make it shorter. But if you put it over your videos while you're still speaking, they're still listening for that conclusion, but they're also going to see those videos. People are at this point trained to click away from those still screens with videos on them, so implement it into your content. You also want to make sure that you are leveraging cards. Cards are little pop-ups throughout the course of your video, and you're allowed up to 5 throughout the course of whichever YouTube video you are currently uploading. You can then reference back to a playlist, to one of your videos, to a channel, to all sorts of things. Use these wisely, and if you have the ability to talk it into the content you're already creating, if you're referencing a video or you're referencing a playlist, put it at that timestamp if at all possible, and if not, guide them to your content that will be best suited for them based on the content you're talking about. So for me, right now, we're creating a video all about YouTube. So my cards may all be about YouTube. If you pay attention to my cards popping up on screen, those little gray boxes, you may see my YouTube playlist. And I may go in and I may pick specific YouTube videos, or because people who are frequently learning about YouTube are also learning about TikTok and Instagram, you may notice me using my cards to talk about TikTok tutorials and other tutorials that they can be benefiting from while they're learning how to grow on social media. Use things wisely and space them out in your videos. You want to make sure that you have some up front and some further in, because those people who just watch the first couple of seconds do not want a bunch of things popping up on their screen, so wait till about a minute in if possible, and then you want to make sure that you're driving traffic to useful things. Now, there are a lot of tips floating around on when you should be using these cards. People who are there at the beginning may not click away, or you may not want them to click away because that will ruin your watch time. You may want to wait until the invested people who are sticking around until the end are there. That will get you a higher click-through rate. So there's lots of options with that, but you want to make sure you're leveraging both that end screen and the card option, because this drives traffic to your other videos and playlists, which results in more watch time, and if you're monetized, more money for you. Speaking of helpful tools that YouTube gives us, they now allow us to have chapters inside of our videos. Now, you can do this manually. If you've got different sections of your video where you're talking about different points, you can actually go in and set it to that timestamp. You can link those in your caption so people can click and watch exactly that. This also helps when people are searching for specific answers on Google. They will get a time-stamped version of your video to take them directly to that answer without having to get through your other points. This is highly beneficial to you. But if you don't have the time or you don't want to make the effort, they also auto do this for you. It may not be as accurate as if you do it for yourself. So if you're somebody who produces a ton of content and you just don't want to go through and deal with those timestamps, you don't have to, because as long as you check the box, they will do it for you. They will use the words you're saying, the overlays you've got, the stuff that you have inside of your caption, all this information to decide where the next point might be. And again, sometimes they'll get it wrong, sometimes they'll get it right, but it means you don't have to do that work. If at all possible, do it yourself, because it'll be more accurate and you can break it down into smaller segments, which could potentially mean more Google hits for you, which means more watch time and more money when it comes to your ad share revenue. So there's lots of options in there, but so many people don't even know that this feature exists, much less implement it into their content strategy for YouTube. So if you do, this could absolutely help level up your channel. And speaking of leveraging your video description and captions, you also want to make sure that you're leveraging that caption space to drop links to other YouTube videos and to things that make you money, whether it's your courses, your products, or your affiliate links. Anything that you mention inside of the video should be linked in your caption or your video description. But it's also wise to have a bunch of links down toward the bottom for things that you are making money off of. Here is the camera I used to film. Here is the tripod I used to film. Here's the lights I used to film. Here is my course. Here is my product. Here is the affiliate links for the 6 different things I frequently use that you might be seeing on my channel from time to to time that people might want to know more about. By having them accessible inside of your captions, you will make passive income from people who are just genuinely interested in what you do. I don't necessarily talk about all of the things in my business that I put in my affiliate links, but because they're there, because they can see I'm using some of those tools and resources, they're much more likely to then buy those things. So for you, you may not be somebody like me who talks about tech and gear. I actually do tutorials on cameras and lights and tripods and all of those things. So I have them linked down below. It's connected to my business, but so many of my students and members are linking their cameras, their lights, their tripods, and because people like the quality of the videos that they are creating, even though they have nothing to do with tools and technology, they are looking in their caption to see what they're using so that they can use it too. And if you've got an affiliate link there, you can make a whole lot of extra cash, especially if you're drawing attention to the caption for other reasons that you've referenced in your videos, and then you just keep scrolling down. Now, I have a bit of a bonus here for you in a minute, but the last thing that we are leaving behind in 2022 for your YouTube channel is poor quality audio. If people cannot clearly understand you, they are not going to stick around. If it's fuzzy, if there's external sounds, if it's echoey, if you sound really far away, or if you sound too close, or if you sound underwater, they're not going to stick around. So you need to make sure that your camera source, whether it's a camera or a phone, has a good built-in microphone, has an external microphone, has something you could clip on, or a shotgun mic. There's all sorts of ways that you can be doing this, and I've got a bunch listed in my tools and resources and on my Amazon storefront. That's a reference to those links down in the caption we just talked about, but you gotta make sure that you're leveling up your audio, because if it's distracting or hard to understand, people will not stay. They may forgive a fuzzy quality video, but if they can't hear you, they're not gonna stick around. For example, when I live stream, sometimes my live stream video is a little bit on the pixelated side, but as long as they can still hear me, they're going to be able to understand and take action on what I'm saying. So they will forgive a little bit of not great quality video, but they will not forgive bad audio. You gotta make sure that you're leveraging your audio in a way that is clear and concise so that people can then take action. But I promised you a bonus that you can implement into your YouTube video strategy to help you level up. Now, before we get there, I do want to remind you for weekly bonuses, you can jump into my newsletter.kmrobinson.com for weekly tips and tricks to help you level up that I don't put out on my other social platforms. You also want to make sure that as you are creating your YouTube content, you are taking a page from the other social platforms. You need to look around and see what's working there, because we're in an entirely different era of video content creation. If you watch my previous videos where I made predictions for both YouTube and TikTok and the other social platforms, you will know I have been consistently talking about how we're leveling up our video content creation in 2023. You're looking for real, raw, and relational, but we're looking for it in a more cinematic way. We want to be entertained while we're learning things. We want to make sure that we have something to visually latch onto and really holds our attention through the course of that video. And we want to make sure we're leveling up the production level of what we're creating. So that means you need to learn cinematography. You need to learn more about your videography. You need to understand your tools and your equipment. And that doesn't mean you have to go out of your way to buy expensive, fancy gear. You do not. Work with what you have, but learn how to leverage it a little bit better. So this could be as easy as looking at TikTok and understanding how content is holding people's interest. We want you to be paying attention to what they're doing. A really, really easy way to connect with your audience is by implementing TikTok transitions. And I'm not talking about the big, bold outfit changes, location change. I'm not talking about that. Easy transitions. It could be as simple as swiping your hand over the camera and now you're in a different location. You don't have to do anything other than swipe that hand over your lens, cover it up, and now you're in a different part of your office or your studio or you're outside or you're inside or wherever your local space is. It could be as easy as turning your head one direction to the other and just moving your camera as you go so that it looks like you are having movement in your videos. It's very easy to study transitions on TikTok. We've got a whole playlist on how to do things here on the YouTube channel. But you do not have to put a ton of time and effort into this, but it levels up your production in a very strategic way that allows you to hold on to people's attention and deliver the content that you need to be delivering. Make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell, because every single day we're dropping brand new videos just like this one to help you level up on social media and save time and effort creating your social media content so you can get back to running your business and live your best life. Drop your questions down below and I'll see you in the next video.